Peace and blessings to the 12 tribes of Israel. Today I'm going to deal with a topic called faultless divorce or no fault divorce. Now, in the UK, over the past, I think it's just under a week, there's been a new law saying that now you can have a no-fault divorce. So the time for your divorce to be completed, the shortest time for it to be completed used to be 6 months. So it's still 6 months, right? But 6 months is the maximum period now, right? Because it says that because the new law institutes that it's a no-fault divorce. So whereby before you had to say, these are the reasons why I want a divorce, and then it goes to the courts, and then the judge decides whether you can have it or not. And then it has to go to I think it goes to your spouse first, and then he or she decides whether, they agree with it, and then it goes to the courts, and the courts decide whether it's above board or not. Right, but with a no-fault divorce, it takes away the courts saying whether you can have it or not, right, based on your reason for it, and it takes away the other person agreeing to do it. So now you can bypass all of that, and you simply can just go online, you tap into your computer, and you go, I want a divorce, and then you fill out your little form, and you pay your 593 or 600 quid, whatever it is. You pay it, and then it starts the ball rolling, and in 6 months' time, it's all done. So in the old system, you had the decree nisi, and then you had a decree absolute, and that needed your spouse consent for it to go forward, and it also needed the court's consent for it to go forward. Whereas in this new system, you just have a conditional order and a final order, and none of those levels require the courts or your spouse to give the authority for it to go ahead, because there's no fault divorce. So there's no fault that has to be registered on the divorce itself. It's like, so you could just wake up one day and say, well, okay, I don't really want to be married anymore, so let me go online and start the beginnings of a no-fault divorce. And in 6 months, it's all finished. So therefore, if you're a man, you stand to lose a lot, right? Because men always lose in divorce. Okay, so what I'm going to do something different in this video. And I'm going to make it a video commentary video. And it's about the issues of no-fault divorce, right? So these two gentlemen are Americans, and obviously they know a lot about no-fault divorce because it came into law in 1969 in California. So, no-fault divorce is nothing new, right? In places like Canada, Australia, they have no-fault divorce. The UK has only had it now. So let's listen to these two guys and let's hear what they have to say about it, because in terms of no-fault divorce, the person that really loses is the man, right? He stands to lose it all, right? So let's hear what these two gentlemen have to say.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting statement about the logical conclusion of no-fault divorce, because as you said, it was introduced under maybe different understandings of what it was. I think the family law section knew what it was, but for the vast majority of the U.S. population, I think no-fault divorce came with different intentions as to what it has now developed and manifested into, which is just merely the logical conclusion, which is there's no defense, it's unilateral, there's no consent, there's no mutual consent, which I think a vast majority of people would really be shocked at, because I think not a lot of people know about no-fault divorce to begin with, but then what little they know, I'm sure they think that it's mutual, because even to conceive that it's unilateral seems barbaric.
Absolutely. One of the striking things about these cases that we see consistently is how shocked people are when they are served with papers, when they're hauled into court, and they realize the terms of no-fault divorce. Most people have no idea that this is the way the system works until they themselves are hit with it. They hear the cliches, ugly divorce, nasty custody battle. They hear about friends, they see TV shows. The media doesn't investigate this. The scholars don't investigate this. Nobody lets people know in advance what the terms are of this. And when they're hit with it, they say, you mean the judge can do that? You mean my children can be, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't violate any law. Why can the judge take my children away? Why can the judge throw me out of my home? Well, I never knew this could happen to me. And as you gradually find this is happening, increasingly people are finding out, especially men. You have the movement that's growing. If you look on the videos on the internet, the movement known as MGTOW, the men going their own way, who are basically men who have discovered, either in their own cases or others, the terms of divorce, and how easily they can lose their homes, their children, their jobs, their livelihood, their freedom, how easily they can be jailed, how easily they can become homeless through the divorce system. And they are simply boycotting marriage, boycotting women, boycotting families altogether. You look at these MGTOW videos, they get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of hits sometimes. It's an enormous population of men that are finding out what's going on, basically engaging in what Helen Smith and others have called a marriage strike.
All right, just to give these two gentlemen credit, one of them is Stephen Baskerville, the other one is Matthew Johnson, right? And they're obviously talking about how bad it is for men. No-fault divorce sounds, oh, that's a really good idea. Females get really happy. Oh, it's a very good idea. I can divorce my husband. Oh, now the divorce can't be held up anymore. Because they don't stand to lose as much as men, right? Men lose everything. Men lose homes, businesses, money, jobs, livelihoods, and children, right? Most importantly, children. Children are being raised in broken homes because of this I feel culture. It's a feelings-based, feel good. I want to feel good. I just want to feel good. So I had an affair because I just want to feel good because it's been a long time since I felt good. That kind of culture, that entanglement kind of, I had an entanglement with another man because I just wanted to feel good because it's been a long time since I felt good kind of culture. This kind of culture, this feelings-based, what about me, I feel culture is killing marriage. And the people who stand to lose are men, right? And that's not to say there's not bad men out there. There's bad men too, right? There's bad men too, and they're bad. But the Bible says that this is going to be the time when women are going to overtake men. So the Bible backs it up. A new thing was created in the world, and it's a woman shall compass a man. Anyhow, let's carry on. Okay, so let's deal with this scripture. So let's go to Jeremiah 31, and we're going to read 22. How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. So it said, how long will thou go about? So the Lord is saying to the females, how long are you going to continue this women's liberation, this feminism, this I'm an independent woman, this masculinity? How long are you going to keep doing it? O thou backsliding daughter. It's saying you daughters of Zion, because that's what it's talking about. You're backsliders. You backslided from the Bible. You backslided from the holy women of old, like Sarah and Rebecca, and all those holy women of old, like Judith, right? Even Esther, right? You backslided, right? It's saying, oh, thou backsliding daughter, ? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. So because as a result of your actions, a new thing has been created in the world, and that is a woman compassing a man. So this is what we have today. It's continued even way back then, but now it's at its pinnacle now. It's at its climax now where men now act like women and women act like men. All this confusion in terms of gender roles, in terms of marriage, in terms of everything. So therefore, now we have a situation now where the women run the show, right? It's called women's liberation, feminism. I'm an independent woman, right? And that's not to say that all men are good, right? Men need to get their act together too. But the Bible is telling you that this is how it's going to go. And this is the climax of all this women's liberation that we're having today.
Children refusing to get married. And yet there's no investigation of this. There's no publicity about this. So it's quite. I mean, we're sitting on a time bomb. I mean, this is going to be. We're going to see a gender war like we've never imagined when this finally explodes.
Well, I find that particularly interesting because I mean I'm part of the millennial generation, and this is what I hear among my peers is I don't believe in marriage. Why should I get married? And talking about all these economic incentives rather than what marriage should be, and the question is does no fault divorce set marriage up to fail? And the answer is yes. Absolutely. I mean, there's no incentive to get married, and the state actually compels you when you solemnize your marriage, even in a church. The state compels you to say to get that legal recognition by civil law. If you want to be recognized and if you want to enjoy and reap the benefits of the temporary benefits of what the state can offer, it just seems like there's a perverse incentive, there's a disincentive to actually engage in marriage to begin with, and I think a lot of millennials feel that even without knowing what no-fault divorce is, they see it and they experience it in their own homes, and there just seems to be absolutely no incentive for marriage whatsoever, and it really changes the whole understanding of our society and what it's built on, because you have the individual, you have the family, you have the county, you have the state, you have the federal government, and you take one piece out like a Jenga game, and then everything falls apart.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very much what's happening. No, very much so. And you think the most basic level is the one you're taking out. Mm-hmm. The family as a social unit, the family is an economic unit. Yes, it's not sustainable. Mm.
People act as if like marriage is complex. Marriage is not really that complex. If you follow what the Bible says about marriage, you'll have success. But if you follow what your Christian church, your pastor and the people leading the church have to say about marriage, you'll have failure, right? If you follow the world, you're definitely going to have failure. You're going to have unhappiness, you're going to have dissatisfaction, and all you're going to do is change partners. You're going to have a lifetime of changing partners, going from one partner to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And the church copies the world, right? Because your pastor stands up and he swears blind. He says it's a 50-50 marriage. It's shared roles, because he's too afraid to stand up to the feminists, you see. It's shared roles. It's 50-50. We all have to work these days. It should all be shared, the roles. It's two visions. It's not one vision. It's two. A woman should be allowed to pursue her career just like the man. When you have your church upholding these type of detrimental values, which are not really values, it's really wickedness. Right? You're going to have a culture of marital breakdown. When you have an I feel culture, what about me culture, the feel good culture, the moment your woman stops feeling good, or you don't talk to her like she talks to her girlfriends, because a husband is a husband. He's a man. He's not one of the girlfriends, right? And that's the problem. That's an aside issue. That's what a lot of women don't understand, is that your husband is not your girlfriend. He's not one of your talk mates, right? He is your husband. And we don't like talking that much. When we've done a full day's work and we come home, we don't like doing an awful lot of talking. We just want to relax. We want to have some joy, some peace. We don't want to be talking like one of your girlfriends. But anyhow, That seeps into all the I feel culture. Because one of the key things the woman will say to the counselor when you go into counseling is, we don't talk, we don't talk, we don't talk. That's one of the key things she would always say. So it's the I feel culture, it's the what about me culture, and we don't talk culture. And that would kill your marriage, and that's going to give you a really bad marriage. And you know what? That's what's going to happen eventually. She's going to start reaching for the no fault divorce, especially when she starts speaking to one of her girlfriends. You know, the one that can't get married and will never get married because she has a pissy attitude. She's going to reach for the no fault divorce, and she's going to take it out, and she's going to go, see, we're now divorced.
So going back to the MGTOW for a minute, in Houston recently there was some talk about them opening up a brothel with sex dolls. And I mean, I know that there are some men that say, get a doll, not a woman. Because, I mean, it's crazy, I know that. But they're saying, is the doll going to do just what you said? Are they going to take half your assets? Are they going to take you to the divorce court? Are they going to take your kids away? You're not going to have kids. But I mean,
when men say things like, oh, you might as well just get a blow-up doll, at least it's not going to give you a hard time in the home, you know, and you get to satisfy yourself sexually, and it's not going to divorce you, etc., etc., etc. Now, this sounds very funny, right? And it sounds ludicrous, to be honest. And obviously, it's not right. You shouldn't really do that, right? That's unbiblical, and no man should really be thinking along those lines, because not all of our sisters are like that. Not all black women are like that. You know, some black women are very respectful, are very submissive, and they too are looking for a good guy, right? You know, they may get a bit confused with a lot of things because, let's face it, there's so much confusion in the world right now. There's so much attacks against marriage, against black relationships, against couples, that it's easy to get confused. But there are some sisters that are very submissive, kind, loving. It's just the vast majority of them that take on this kind of demonic stance of, I want to be a man. And in order for me to be a man, I have to show my husband, I have to show the men that I am much of a man as they are. And that kind of culture is what's killing marriage. It's killing relationships, whereby a relationship or a courtship or a dating experience would have went into a real courtship into marriage. It now is stunted because men now are wise now. A lot of MGTOW men have been through it, and they're now wise now to it. So they can see it in a woman. If you go on a date with a woman, or you might have a conversation with her on the phone, and you could see it. You might have a video call with her, and you could see it in her face and the way she responds. And you know, oh, hang on, she's a bit manly, she's a bit pushy, she's a bit, nah, that's not what I want. So a lot of men are more keyed up to it now, right? So it's going to stop a lot of people from finding husbands. And also it's going to damage a lot of marriages, you know, and all it does, it bangs the nail in the coffin even faster.
there's serious talk about this.
Yeah.
Because of the state, and the state will say, "Oh, look at all these things that have happened," but they will never point the fingers at themselves to say, "We're causing this."
Exactly.
And that's the
Because they consistently present themselves as the solution to the problems which they cause.
which they cause exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the whole child abuse scandal.
Yeah.
Okay, the child abuse allegations are a major cause of huge increases of the power of social workers, and social workers have basically become plainclothes police.
Right.
With the power to take. Well, what causes child abuse? We know child abuse almost all takes place in the homes of single mothers, single parents.
Right.
That's where child abuse takes place.
Yeah.
Okay, who creates single parent homes? Well, the state does. The
Yeah.
state takes the father out.
Yeah.
The children are left with a single mother and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
They're the ones that abuse the children.
Yeah.
Right? So the state creates the circumstances for the child abuse. Then they come in and take the children away from the mother, put
Yeah.
the child in foster care,
Yeah.
and they charge the mother and the father for child support now.
And
So that's the real side of divorce that you don't often hear, which is the children. right? The children suffer. People don't think about the children because they're too busy thinking about their own selfish gratification, the what about me culture. Well, what about me? I deserve to be happy. I deserve to feel good. But what about the children? Do they deserve to have two parents in the household? Do they deserve to have a father and a mother in the household in a fully functional relationship? Yes, they do. They deserve to have a mother and a father in the household, just like God planned it in the beginning. Adam and Eve, right? He put them together as a married couple, and those children came afterwards, right? Because they deserve to have a fully functional father and a fully functional mother in the household. But the no-fault divorce just means that people get in their feelings and then they start reaching for the divorce, and before you know it, everybody's unhappy. Children are unhappy, husband are unhappy, dogs are unhappy. The only person who's really happy temporarily is the woman because she feels good. Yeah, see, I'm an independent woman. I told you I'm an independent woman. I told you, and now I'm a fully independent woman. And now she goes and gets a boyfriend and brings the boyfriend into the home. And what does the boyfriend do? The boyfriend doesn't have the same love for the children as the father. That's the father's seed. He loves his children. But then you go and bring the boyfriend in the home. Boyfriend doesn't have the same love. And he's like thinking, why am I taking care of these children? All I came here for is the sex. And I'm taking care of this woman. This woman has had children with another man. I'm taking care of these children. Men in general do not like getting stuck with somebody else's children because they don't have the same level of love, the same level of patience, the same level of respect. And when they have to deal with somebody else's children and deal with the woman at the same time, they didn't sign up for that. All they're there for is the sex and the good times. And if the woman starts talking that feminist stuff, they'll put up with it for however long that they're enjoying the sex. But after that, they'll just get bored and they just bounce. There's no real investment with that family. When you females leave your marriages, what you don't understand is that you have a whole world of whoremongers, of men that are fed up, men that just want to have sex with women with no relationships whatsoever, no entanglements whatsoever. They just want to hit and run, right? They want a short-term relationship. They don't mind having sex with anybody, right? Especially a woman with children because she's vulnerable, right? She really needs a man, right? So he'll have sex for 6 months, a year, and then he'll get bored and fed up, and then he'll just hit and run, right? Why would you want to put your children in that vulnerable situation when you should be staying with your husband, when you should be cooperating with your husband, when you should be a functional wife and do things the way how God intended it to do in the Bible with your husband so that you can have success? Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Many people have talked about the safest place for a child to be is in the home with the father and the mother together, because the majority of abuse takes place either by the mother's new boyfriend or new husband.
Or the mother herself.
Or the mother herself, yeah. And that's not a gender issue, but it's a fact of the matter.
It's a fact.
And of course, men do create some things, but by far, it's safer for the child.
Absolutely. You know how much sexual abuse there is of children by married biological fathers? It's like 1/10 of 2% or 1/10 of 1%.
Yeah.
Minuscule amount.
Yeah.
I want to go through some statistics. Now, these are statistics from America, and they are statistics that were taken by the marriage. So this is the title of it. So it says marriage to divorce ratio in the US demographic variation 2018. So this was done in 2018. So that's pre-pandemic levels, right? And the profile was done in 2019, and the author is Valerie Schrozer, right? So it is BGSU. So these are the people. This is the website where it's on, right? And basically, it says, I'm going to read it. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to read a bit of it to give you a flavor of what it's saying. So it says, All racial ethnic groups had more marriages than divorces. Other race women, including Asian, American Indian, Alaska Native, and multiracial women, had the highest marriage to divorce ratio 3, that's 3.0, meaning three women married in 2018 for every one woman who divorced. The second highest ratio was found among Hispanic women, which is 2.5, followed by white women, which was 2.1, and black women 1.6. Black women, listen to this, black women were the only group that had the higher divorce rate than marriage rate, with nearly 31 divorces per 1,000 married women, aged 15 and older, and only 17.3 marriages per 1,000 unmarried women. So let's read that bit again. So black women were the only group that had the higher divorce rate than marriage rate, with nearly 31 divorces per 1,000 married women, aged 15 and older, and only 17.3 marriages per 1,000 unmarried women. So what we gather from that is that the divorce rate among black women is sky high, because it's 30.8 compared to white people, which is 15.1, and Hispanic people, which is 18.5, and other, which is 12.4. So black women have the highest divorce rate, and the marital rates, black women have the lowest, right? Or black people, I should say. Black people have the lowest, right? The lowest among black, let me get it right. So it's the lowest among black women, right? So the marriage rates are, so black people are the lowest, or black women are the lowest, 17.3. Then the next one higher, these are the marriage rates, are 32.1, which is for white people. Then Hispanic is 33.2, and other is 36.6. So the point, what I'm trying to make, is that the marriage rates and the divorce rates among black women are very, very high divorces and very, very low marriages, right? Now, this is a curse that came upon Israel. We all know that, right? This is a curse. Well, if you don't know that, you should know that. This is a curse that came on Israel. So we know that things are not going to be great for our people as it is everybody else. But these figures are very worrying, because now we have to ask ourselves, then, what is the major problem? What is the major problem? Why are these rates so incredibly bad for black people or black women, and it's not as bad for the other races, right? So let's go into the scriptures. I may do a video commentary, but let's go into the scriptures. So we're first going to go to John 1:2. So let's go into the scriptures. So let's read 1 John 2, and we're going to read 14 to 17. I have written unto you, fathers, because ye have known him that is from the beginning. I have written unto you, young men, because ye are strong, and the word of God abideth in you, and you have overcome the wicked one. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but it is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of the Father abideth forever. So we're not supposed to take our advice or take our rules and regulations from the world. We're supposed to take it from the Bible, the laws of God. Now, if we stick to the laws of God, then we will have success. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? And that's been the problem along the years, is that from the invention of these prosperity churches, these televangelists, and things have slowly, or probably even fast, depends on how you want to look at it, going all the way down to the bottom, right? Things are going really badly for black people, in terms of marriage and not divorcing. Well, for everybody really, but primarily black people. So let's read that bit again. So let's read the last two verses again. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So if you love the world more than you love the Lord, you love the commandments more than you love the words of God, then the love of the Father is not in you, because you love the world, right? You love the horrible music, you love pornography, you love chasing money, chasing women, you love fornication, you love adultery, all the usual suspects. You love smoking weed, you love getting drunk, you like getting high, all of the usual suspects. 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of your eyes. So all that is in the world is the lust of your flesh, right? Because that's what people want. People want to have a good time all the time. They want to fulfill whatever their flesh desires. They want to fulfill it, right? And the pride of life. So the pride means that you want to fulfill, you want to have a good time. You want to have self-gratification, right? You don't want to sacrifice for others, but you want to gain things for yourself, for your own pleasure. So it's the pride of life. It is not of the Father, but it is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. So if you do the will of the Father and you follow the laws of the Bible, you would abide with him forever. So let's now go to 2 John, and we're reading from 5 to 7, and we're reading 9. And now I beseech thee, lady, not as though I write a new commandment unto thee, but that which we had from the beginning, that we love one another. So we're supposed to love one another. So when it all is said and done, with all this marriage and divorce, really we should be loving one another, having compassion with one another, right? And this is the love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, as we should walk in it. So we should walk in his commandments. So the commandments, so in order to have success in our relationships, whatever relationships it is, whether it be friendships or marriage, we should walk in his commandments. So it says, and this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye should walk in it. 7, for many deceivers had entered into the world, who confess not Jesus Christ is come in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the antichrist, right? So it's saying that many deceivers have come into the world who's confessed that they are Jesus the Christ. There's many gods, basically, right? Has come in the flesh. This is deceiver and the antichrist. Now we know the ultimate false prophet, which is Caesar Borgia. It's fooled all of these Christians into thinking that is really Christ. And he's not Christ, because we know that from the scriptures, the holy scriptures, that Christ is a black man, right? He's from the tribe of Judah, and his skin was as if it was burnt in a furnace, right? We know that from scriptures. So he doesn't represent that image. That is the spirit of the Antichrist. But if you're following a doctrine that comes with that Antichrist, or any other Antichrist, any other gods, then it means that you're not going to go well with God. It means that you're deceiving yourself into thinking that is God, and he's not, right? That is of God, and it's not, right? So a false God would always come with a doctrine, right? Always remember that, right? So let's read 9. Whosoever transgressed and abide not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. Let's read again. Whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. So if you abide in the Holy Scriptures, the Bible, including the Apocrypha, if you abide in the New Testament, you uphold the commandments, whatever Christ said to do is what we do, right? As spoken by the prophets, because the Bible says that a testimony is in full effect. A better testimony really is when the person is no longer around, right? It's like a will, right? When someone dies, he leaves a will, right? And that will now, whatever he wants when he dies, is what comes into effect, right? What he wants to do with what he owns, that comes into effect when someone dies, right? So let's now go to Sirah 6. So the point I'm trying to make is that there should be more love and more obedience. If you follow the commandments, you will have success. But if you follow covetousness, pride of life, you say, I don't want to hear that Bible, I'm not going to submit. That submission is an old thing. I can't submit. No one really can submit. No woman can submit because you're an independent woman. You're not going to have success. If you're a man and you say, oh, well, there's too many rules and regulations. I like doing my own thing. I like smoking weed every now and again, going to church every now and again. I like having fun. Right? I like fornicating every now and again. I like putting tattoos all over my body every now and again. I like looking like hell because I'm following the world, right? I like piercings. I listen to all these filthy, disgusting rappers. I listen to their music and I smoke weed and I get high, right? If you do all of these things, it means that you're going to have failure. You're not going to have success. And if you're a woman and you think, oh, well, I'm an independent woman, I'm a career woman, I don't need a man telling me what to do, I don't need a man. You're fooling yourself because you are the weaker vessel, you need a man, right? Every woman needs a head, right? So let's go to Sirah 6 and we'll read from 6 to 18. Be in peace with many, nevertheless have but one counselor of 1,000. So be at peace with many, right? So it says, the Bible says, if it be possible, live in peace with all mankind. It means everybody, whether they're your own nation of people, other nations of people. You're supposed to live in peace and harmony with other nations of people. Love other nations of people and live in peace with them, right? Now, your special love is for your own people, right? Because the Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? Be in peace with many, nevertheless have but one counselor of 1,000. So out of all the people that you have around you, have one person that you can confide in. 7, for thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. So that's what I was saying in the beginning of this talk or Bible study, right? I was saying that don't look on someone and get infatuated and then you start saying, this is it, right? Because the devil can actually push people your way. And then you end up getting infatuated by the way they look. And then everything they do, you overlook it, right? So let's read it again. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first. So you prove the person first. And be not hasty to credit him. Don't be hasty to say, yep, you're it. I've met my wife. I've met my husband. For some man is a man for his own occasion and will not abide in the day of any of thy troubles. So someone comes into your life and they're not there forever. They're not there forever. They're just there for a season, right? A lot of these women, they're just there for a season. Some stay and some just go, right? Some stay, some go. You have to work it out. Are they there for a season or there for the long haul? And there is a friend who being turned to enmity, so they will not abide in a day of trouble. So if you're in trouble, you can't ring them up. You can't message them and say, oh, can you help me with this? They're not going to help you. They're not going to be there, right? And there is a friend who being turned to enmity and strife will discover thy reproach. So you'll really find your enemy then. 10, again, some friend is a companion at the table and will not continue in the day of thy affliction. They're friends that you meet up with, you link up with all the time, but they're not real friends. They don't really care about you in that way. They like your company. You're good fun to be around. It's good to, be around you, but they're not real friends. They're not going to be there in your affliction. 11, but in thy prosperity he will be as thyself and will be bold over thy servants. If thou be brought low, he will be against. So if you be brought low, he will be against thee and will hide himself from thy face. So if something happens to you, you end up being, in jail or whatever, or someone saying something bad about you, they will just pretend I never knew him. I always knew that he was something wrong with him. They won't stick with you, right? If thou be brought low, they will be against thee and will hide himself from thy face. Separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends. So you got to know who is your friend and who is your enemy. Everybody that looks good is not your friend, right? Many husbands are married to wives. That's not their friend. They're just there for the money. They're there because you take care of them, because you take care of their children that they brought into the marriage. That's not yours. They're just there because they want someone to pay the bills. They're not there because they really love you and they really care about you and want to have your children. They're just there because hey, it's better than being on the streets. It's better than having to pay your own bills. You know, a lot of these women, they're with men because they pay the bills, because that's what men do. They provide. But really, those women don't really want to be there, right? For thou separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends. But take heed of your friends. You need to know who is your enemy and who is your friend. 14, a faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found such a one hath found a treasure. So you need to be looking for a faithful friend, a friend that is not just there for a season or not just an enemy, but someone who actually genuinely likes you, loves you, has an affection for you, and wants to see good things happen to you. Nothing doeth avail a faithful friend, and his excellency is invaluable. A faithful friend is a medicine of life. So a faithful friend is a medicine of life. And they that fear the Lord shall find him. If you fear the Lord, you'll find your mate. You will find your spouse, right? So if you fear the Lord, the problem that we have today is because a lot of people claim to love the Lord, but they don't. They don't really love the Lord. There's no real love for the Lord, because everything, especially in a Western country, everything is so readily available that everything works. Everything works like clockwork. You could turn on the tap, the water comes on. You turn on the electricity, the lights comes on. You switch on the lights, they come on because there's electricity running. You know, you go in the bath, the water warms up. You know, if you turn on the hot water, you know, everything works. So therefore, you're not suffering, right? So therefore, it's easy to do lip service when you go to church, because you're really not destitute. You got a job, you're paying your bills, and you're able to have fun. So therefore, you're not really thinking about anybody else. You're really thinking about your own carnal desires, the pride of life, right? So that's what happens. To women and men. You know, but real believers are those people that are going through the scriptures, studying the scriptures and learning the scriptures and growing from level to level to level. You're not stuck in the same level for 10, 20, 15, 20 years, right? You're not stuck in the same level thinking, if you're a woman, I'm waiting for my husband, it's 20 years. You know, you've now 40 something or in your late 30s. You've passed the age of where you can bring fruit of the womb. You passed that age, that window is gone. You have the chance of you getting pregnant are very, very slim once you pass 35, right? And it gets slimmer and slimmer as the years go by until you don't have any more eggs left. Or the quality of eggs are so poor that you can't even get pregnant or last a distance. A faithful friend is the medicine of life, and they that fear the Lord shall fear him. Whoso feareth the Lord shall direct friendship aright, for he is, so shall his neighbour be also. So a faithful friend is the medicine of life, and they that fear the Lord shall find him. So you'll find someone if you fear the Lord, right? So if you believe in the Lord, you believe in his holy scriptures, whether you're a woman or a man, you'll find someone. Whoso feareth the Lord shall direct his friendship aright. So if you fear the Lord, whoso feareth the Lord shall direct his friendship aright, for as he is, so shall his neighbour be also. 18, my son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. So when you're young, you're a child, or you're in your early 20s, right? You should gather all that wisdom. You should be learning wisdom. If you're a woman, you should be learning from an older woman, you know, preferably married. You know, you can learn from an unmarried woman too, so that you don't make the same mistakes as that woman. You know, but you learn from an older woman. If you're a female, you learn from an older woman. And if you're a male, you learn from your father or from a father figure. You know, how to be a man and how to maneuver yourself in this world, right? And how to prevent being with the wrong person and end up in a failure of a marriage or a divorce, or marrying someone that you have no business marrying, and then it all goes kaput, and then you end up in a faultless divorce, a no-fault divorce. Now, I went through all of this to say that you just got to be careful who you get with, right? That's the point that I'm trying to make here, right? And to avoid this faultless divorce, you need to choose right. I suppose if you wanted to take something from it, that would be what I'm saying. Choose the right person, right? Because if you choose the wrong person who is not really a believer, looks like a believer, sounds like a believer, but it's not really a believer. Lots of people have learned how to over spiritualize things because that's how they get through life, by over spiritualizing things. But really, a true believer is someone that actually believes in the truth, who they are in the Bible, Israel, Christ being a black man, Israelites being black, the commandments that Christ left for us to follow, not eating unclean meats, right? The way how we worship, the way how we have sex, who we have sex with, etc., etc., etc. That's a real believer will follow the commandments of Christ, right? So those are the things that we need to look for before we commit to a faithful friend, or before we actually say, well, this is a faithful friend. Brothers and sisters, I hope you got something from that. Shalom.